Welcome to the Universe Inside Our Mind. I'm Dr. David Jubb. We have a really great show for you today. It's all about blood and the kitchen. It's so amazing actually because today's show really very much is about what's going on in the kitchen and how this does affect our blood. Most people might think, gee, you know, we eat pizza and burgers and rice and wheat and dairy, you know, we love that. Those foods are drugs, really. And they provide undigestible, strange protein that comes into the diet, and that finds its way throughout the whole of the body. And it's amazing, you know, because I really began looking at blood with live blood cell analysis long before that became popular. And I'd see what people ate and how that affected their blood. And I've come here today to tell you that even if you were eating good food, that would not assist to help correct the blood situation. So eating good food, even once you've injured your body, can be not really what's necessary to be able to heal things up. And so blood, for the most part, has only really been thought of as a gas transporter, which it is, but it's more than that. And people have thought that what you ate really didn't have anything to do with your blood, which it does, very much so. People thought that you could drink a can of Coca-Cola and that wouldn't affect your blood at all, or that you could put your feet into some Epsom salt and that wouldn't affect your blood, or that you could put solvents on your skin and that would not affect your blood. That is untrue. We think that it's possible to put solvent, perfumes and things on, and that our blood doesn't drink that, and that's untrue. These things are very, very poisonous, and they do affect the blood. It's amazing because under the microscope, when people have eaten just sort of dead food, their blood looks like a trash heap, you know. And then people who have eaten a lot of dead food and they've started to know what live food is, which is very different from uncooking, even though there's some similarity. Uncooking flesh, which raw food is not live food. Uncooking of beans or grains is also not live food. Sprouting of grains and beans is also not live food. And bananas and dates and all of the hybridized food is not live food. And in Spanish or Portuguese we would call this comida morte. And for those people who are listening, in Portuguese and Spanish it's called comida morte. Or comida vida. Comida vida. That's right. We might have some Russians out there in our audience. It's called Javayeda. If in French it would be called Alimentaire Vivant. And in, let's see, so in every language, live food is a very beautiful word. And that's what we teach here, and that's what I'm known for. I'm not really known for raw food, have never, ever, ever taught raw food, never taught living food either, and I really do teach live food, which is comida vida. So if you use this word, it is, the meaning of it is you know about this work. And you wouldn't use the term raw food because that doesn't describe what we do at all, nor does living food, but live food does. So if you have heard about this work and you know what the meaning of it is, then you would say that you're doing live food. And this really does affect the blood because live food is the most sublime, and also it's a food for all of us to have a sustainable future. We can be sitting sometimes in the quiet and even in wedding ceremonies, and people can be talking about the killing of dolphins and all sorts of things, very insensitive. They just, most people are like children and they're unaware of really what's congruent But it's congruent for us to really do what we can to be caring people, and we can move more towards life food and become life foodarians, we can be practicing comida vida. Comida vida, life food, really causes the blood to be in its most ideal state. But if you've eaten food, or you were gestated within mum, and mum ate those foods, it can have left you with a liver that's not really able to kind of filter the blood very well. And even if you did eat live food, it wouldn't be a true healing therapeutic, because you need more of a non-surgical, non-druggist approach to dislodging debris and bringing biophoton in to be able to do this. Blood is more than just a gas transporter. When it's energized by the lungs gorgeously with oxygen, it becomes a gorgeous, beautiful crimson red. And it glows. And when it's spent its oxygen, it's just a very non-light colour. It just sort of doesn't have much vibrance in it at all, quite the opposite. Blood really is more than just a gas transporter. Modern theory has thought that they looked at some pigeons and some chickens that they starved for 9 to 11 days in 1925, very cruel experiment, and then they looked at the bones of these chickens and pigeons, their long bones, and saw that there was some blood in their marrow, and wrongfully interpreted that to mean that blood is made in the long bones, which it could be under circumstance of starving. But under starving conditions, if you have fat on yourself, that becomes blood. But most people since 1925, they really have mistakenly considered blood to have been made in the long bones, which it really isn't. But under some circumstances, tissue of the body can be reverse differentiated back into blood. And under the circumstances of those starving pigeons and chickens, fowls, they did find some blood in the marrow, but blood under ordinary circumstances is made in the intestinal villi from food that came from the kitchen. That could be news to some people, because we've thought that all we need to do is to know how to prepare food that can be tasty. We think in terms that we could just sort of learn how to prepare food and that might be the answer. And that's a partial answer, but even if, as I said, you did eat live food, it would not really clear away the debris, nor would it get the tap turned on more so that food would move more easily through the intestinal tract. And blood is made in the intestinal villi, in the large cell lamina propria, in the intestinal wall, in large granulocytic cells, and blood is made from a sporulative process of spores aggregating together, fusing, and then those fused spores fusing together, and then that differentiating into blood. Blood is not made from mitotic cell division as people have thought. That's completely untrue, and this, what I'm sharing with you, is the most hardcore sort of microscopic observation to have arrived at this discussion today. So blood really is more than just a gas transporter. What happens to the red blood cell when it's spent? Where does it go? Mitotic cell division of the brain and the liver and these organs doesn't support the fact of cells having divided to produce all the cells that exist in the body. But blood, having been the primary building block of cells, really does. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about this. This is Dr. David Jubb. This is the universe inside our mind. Stay tuned for some more exciting information coming up. Okay, we're back. It's so amazing, because when you look at the blood, of course, either it has a nice amount of light, and when you look at it, it's really gorgeous. It really is glowing. But if you look at it for some period of time, it's little by little loses its light, the light it has under the microscope, and eventually it transmutates itself into a lymphocyte cell under the microscope. It becomes a lymphocyte cell. Unbeknownst to most people in modern medicine, they think that a lymphocyte cell also comes from the bone marrow or something, but it doesn't. It comes from depressed, spent red blood cells that have extravasated and got stuck between the cells of the body, and the colloids of that migrate into the tissue and things and incorporate itself into the tissue, or incorporates itself into a immune cell and becomes an immune cell. When we eat dead food, there is no light in that, and that continuously robs light from the body, and then most people are breathing off the amount of light they have and urinating away their light. So we pee our light away and breathe our light off, and these are the ways typically the light lesson is kept in the body. And it is because we could be bringing in food which really, like pizza is a drug, bread is a drug, flesh, all dead food like flesh from animals, the carcasses of dead animals, does not have any light in it. So the cooked dead food and all the flesh foods that people eat doesn't have any light. When we eat that food, it actually robs light from the body, and people are urinating away their light and breathing off their light. When this occurs, of course, the blood looks more like a ghost. The red blood cell looks more like a ghost, and eventually it looks more like a phantom in comparison, and it really loses its light. The blood bathes the rest of the cells, which really don't have light itself, but can pick up the light from the blood. So blood is more than just an oxygen transporter. It transports energy and cosmic energy right throughout the body. The blood, a red blood cell is a lot like the sun. It's electric, and it's not imploding or exploding as people have thought. Nothing like that at all. About 500 miles above the surface of the sun is the coolest region of itself. It's very cold, and then it jumps about 1,500 miles out from the corona of the sun. It's its hottest point, and it jumps billions of degrees in comparison, but it's very cold inside, which it is electric, and it is fed. It's like a big huge anode, and the sun is, and the external space is like a virtual cathode ray in a similar manner as blood is in our body. And so blood cells really are like an anode and has electrical nature, and the cathode, virtual cathode ray in our body is the body's exterior, and it's not any one object by itself, but just the space where cosmic energy current is drawn from the outside of the body, interior of itself, across space to the red blood cell. And the red blood cell's glow happens quite a bit as a result of this current being fed to itself inside the body. And then when the blood passes through the lungs, it's oxygenated, and the heart acts as a regulator, regulating the flow of the blood, and is not pumping the blood at all, but regulates its flow, is more regulating of its flow, and it percusses the blood and causes vortexes to form in the blood, which assist to energize the blood. And when it comes from these two conditions, it's very, very energized, and it allows that energy to be passed on to the cells. So our blood is more than just a gas transporter. It really does transport energy. And when we eat food, if it's live food, then the body prepares itself to receive energy in real time, which it does to some degree. But as we said in the beginning of the program, if you ate live food, but you were putting that on top of a system that was unable to accept that good food, then it doesn't matter about the live food. The body's not really able to accept that good food, you see? So we've got to clear away the debris and things within the body for the body to be able to receive good food. And the vast majority of people, where they are, is normal, isn't it? And normal is, by the average age of 22, you have a 22% occlusion of your arteries. That's normal. By the age of 30, you have a very serious occlusion, typically of your liver. That's normal. And most people are normally slowly dying, and by the age of 50, they're pretty much dead, and that's normal. So it's sort of a bit abnormal that somebody might consider clearing away that debris. But unless we would clear away the debris, what is normal is a nice amount of debris inside the body, and that debris causes us not to have proper light in our blood. The blood of a person who really has a bile occlusion, and the skin is fairly yellowed, or person has a lot of fat underneath the skin from baby fat that's been there for some time, from milk and ice cream and bread and rice and beans and pizza, you know. I say pizza because that's probably in New York, where we're shooting this, the number one drug that people eat the most. It'd be better to rotate the drugs, have a short line of Coke instead or something, you know what I mean? Because it's such a serious condition, non-stop, the eating of the pizza, which is a very, very serious drug. But all dead flesh and the carcass of rotting animals and things that people eat and cooked up really does cause the food to become coagulated and congealed, and enzyme-resistant linkages form. We do all sorts of things so unnatural, isn't it? We buy things from plastic. We're not concerned perhaps about the pain and the suffering of the animals. We don't mind even getting a sweetener from agave or something, but there's such cruelty to the earth when we vote for that stuff, which is not really live food. We go along and we sort of are doing what we can to maybe eat better, but as I said in the beginning of the program, you could have a lot of debris, and eating better might not help really, because debris might need to be cleared away from the body for the body to work better. But how relaxed your shoulders are and how relaxed your breath is in life affects the blood. You know, being able to be empty of your thinking and being able to be empty of your feeling, which is a form of chatter, and being able to be empty of sounds inside, and being able to be empty of all sorts of the pictures and things that people have inside their head and stuff. But being empty more of these things is being more original. And when we have a lot of those sort of things having gone on inside, it other than allows the blood to have a good picture. And the blood can be other than as vibrant as what it can. So when somebody is a feeling of empty fullness with perfect detachment, they have a sense of a lovingness and a humbleness, they're sort of really living more virtuously, the blood is far more better. Certainly when somebody is pure, more inside, they don't have debris from things they've done that's not right, the blood is a lot better. When someone has a condition where they have a posture, you know, where the shoulders are back, where the head is in alignment, or the head can really sort of be because of a lot of head forward kind of activity. Watching TV, sitting at the desk, at your desk at home or the table, sitting with friends. But most people, as they get older, they tend to slouch and get a very, very sort of bad posture. Seriously, most old women tend to have enormous sort of widow's peaks, right? By the age of 50, and certainly within the mid-20s, people's posture is atrocious, generally, right? But the most attractive people are always generally people that you sense sitting somewhere. They have a nice arch in their back, they're not slouched, they've got their shoulders back, and you know, they have a beautiful upright position and things. And this affects your blood. So when someone can have been slouching, when they can have just had a body position continuously of the shoulders forward, posture goes out of alignment, the head no longer is in alignment with the spine at all, and this is a very serious condition that causes Alzheimer's and causes people to get a bit coasty later on in life. Most people by the age of 50, they generally are very cranky people, very cranky. You know, they're best to be connected with in the morning, because by the afternoon, older people generally are very hypoglycemic, and by the age of 50, which is in my mind fairly young, but most people are haggard and old at that point. And it was all the slouching, all of just the dead food that we ate, all the lack of consideration of what was going on in the kitchen, and the actual effect of this on our blood. Blood from a person who really is vibrant, like I said, has a lot of light in it, and blood from a person that's regularly depressed with dead food and sitting around all day, they don't exercise anymore. Typically adults give exercise away as a bad joke, you know, and if you asked a person when was the last time they broke into a run, typically they can't remember, you know, they haven't run for a long while. And then children, parents leave the lights on because of ghosts and things, and kids don't really have proper melatonin, so they don't feel happy, they don't really sleep. Lights are left on in your home. People sleep right next to clock radios and stuff near their bed, and could never ever have a proper night's sleep as a result, you know what I mean? And it's tough to get into bed, you know, and it's tough to get out of bed when you're young, and so sleep disturbances begin, and the older the people get, the more and more the less quality good sleep that you have, until finally you can't sleep at all. So hamburgers and foods like that and flesh causes the blood to be very acid and causes the brain to end up with Alzheimer's. Omega-6 fats, especially from hamburger meat, is probably the most serious fat that creates Alzheimer's. But most people really don't have their brain even at early life, you know, because they're so irritated inside, digestive disturbance, and we really are living in a world where it is fried sticky fingers in the lobby of the hospital, and it is fried sticky fingers, you know, in the hospital lobby, which is the science of the moment. It is a representation of the science in the home, fried sticky fingers in the lobby of the hospital. It is the science of our time that you could sit and listen at a wedding and hear people talking about the killing of dolphins and all sorts of things, very immature, have no idea actually even subject matter and the congruence of things. Do you know what I mean? So we live in a world where $9 billion worldwide is spent in primary education, and even France spends $11 billion on ice cream. So not very much money is spent sort of in education at all, you know what I mean? But lots and lots of money is spent on drugs and guns and coffee and tobacco and banking and things like that, which really is destructive of people. So the vast majority of money that's really spent, $470 billion, about killing people, it's sort of for war machinery and stuff, and only $9 billion spent worldwide on basic education is an absolute sham. So, but we really live in a world where we not necessarily question the qualifications of people having spoken to us, you know, and certainly in the Centre for Disease Control and the Federal Drug Administration in places like this, lots of law enforcement, heavy boots, but nobody knowing how to save their backsides. Unbelievable, isn't it, eh? All dying of diseases. Oh my God, help us, unbelievable. Dying the slow, painful death of their ancestors. When we come back, we're going to talk a little bit more about live food in the kitchen and your blood. This is Dr. David Jubb. This is the universe inside our mind. Stay tuned for some more exciting information coming up. Okay, we're back. It's so amazing, you know, because even music really affects your blood. It's so incredible, actually. But it's so amazing, actually, that birds, you can see them in the morning, you know, they're sitting on the fence, on the power lines, and they're just gorgeously watching the sun rise. But did you know that actually 15 minutes before the sun rises, something's occurred in your body? It's like a clock. But in our youth, of course, we don't want to wake up. We sort of need a bit more sleep in the morning and that. But solar and celestial bodies really do affect our blood. And albumin registers the effect of the sun and its flocculation rate, and this meaning its ability to coagulate and this sort of thing, is really affected by the sun. Of course, the sun and the moon and the planets really do affect our blood and the water of our cells. It's so amazing because a planet moving toward the Earth, its orbit, it excites things more complementarily, so in the body, and planets moving away, you know, cause a relaxation of things like this. But one's body and blood complementary components. There's metals such as iron. Mars affects iron. Gold is affected by the sun. Silver is affected by the moon. Copper is affected by Venus. It's so amazing. It's possible for us to learn so much about how the planets affect our blood. But anyway, blood is much more than just a gas transporter. That's really what I've wanted to share with you. Blood is much more than a gas transporter, much more to know about blood. Maybe we could have part 1, part 2, huh? Anyway, this is Dr. David Jubb. This is the universe inside our minds. Stay tuned for some more exciting shows coming up.